So at the Game Awards, Sega revealed 5 brand new remakes of their classic IPs coming in the future, with more games to be revealed at some point in the near future. And if you don't know, I really love Sega, so seeing all of these massive IPs coming back is really, it hits at the nostalgia strings for me personally. I grew up with the 3D Sonic games, the 2D Sonic games, the spin-offs, games like Chu Chu Rocket, Crazy Taxi, Billy Hatcher, Space Channel 5, San Diego, Jet Set Radio, and so much more. But today, I'll be breaking down everything we saw from this brief glimpse at the 5 brand new Sega game remakes one by one. So starting off with my second favourite Sega IP, Jet Set Radio. I really love Jet Set Radio, with Jet Set Radio Future being an all-time classic for me. And this game looks like a combination of the original and Jet Set Radio Future's design elements, as we can see sort of both in the environment and with Beat's design himself. We also get our first look at our main character, Beat from the GGs from Jet Set Radio, and here his design is much different, but has callbacks to the sort of original Jet Set Radio. Beat's now wearing a sort of classic orange jumpsuit that mimics his shirt from the original, with tracksuit bottoms and new version of the roller skates, with Beat's logo being on the side of the jacket, as well as some new decals on the left hand side as well. He's got headphones and new versions of his goggles, but this time it seems to be big blue and white glasses. We also see shots of gameplay with Beat going around Tokyo Toe, skating as well as performing tricks on what looks like an area of a remade past level from the original Jet Set Radio, which is based on Center Street from downtown Shibuya. In downtown Shibuya, I'll try and say that better next time, we can see some of the iconic streets returning, where, the level where you've got to, it's the tutorial where you've got to hang on the back of the car. That looks like that entire area from Center Street is returning here. We also see Beat on grind rails going around the streets with areas that look like we can sort of wall jump, wall grind, as well as spray graffiti on them. At the end of the day, it wouldn't be Jet Set Radio without grinding, roller skating, tricks and graffiti. We also end off all of the Jet Set Radio footage with Beat, with him sort of spraying the actual screen itself, confirming that graffiti is indeed returning. And lastly, for Jet Set Radio coverage in terms of gameplay and cutscenes, we actually get a shot of DJ Professor K's new design and possibly the new logo behind him, as we see him sort of within his DJ set, just like in the original, because in the original game you'd have DJ Professor K sort of in between telling you the actual story of the game, and it looks like that's returning here. Next up is Crazy Taxi. Now first off we see a police car chasing taxis. We then see what looks like Gina, a character from the original Crazy Taxi, riding a taxi on a map that looks really similar to the original map and location from the original Crazy Taxi. In this shot we also see another taxi in front, which I really think confirms co-op gameplay here, especially since Sega, part of the leak with all of these remakes that I think got leaked like 2 years ago, the emphasis was on microtransactions and online co-op, so I think Crazy Taxi would be sort of a great game to do that with. I mean, maybe alongside the regular taxi gameplay of picking up people to earn as much cash as you can in a time limit, there will also be other modes with online co-op, maybe like cops and robbers, that sort of thing. We then see a brand new character driving a police car, confirming the fact that we can play as the police as well, so maybe there could be some cops and robbers mechanics here, or just like maybe racing modes, or maybe like time trials, things like that. Also throughout the gameplay we can see the tyres light up to symbolise a drift boost. If you watch the gameplay when the taxis are going around a corner, their tyres light up sort of neon green with flames. We also see the OG classic taxi design in this trailer, as well as a sports car taxi with characters such as BD Joe and Axel spotted throughout the gameplay in the trailer. Next up is Golden Axe. Now, I've got to be honest, I have not played Golden Axe since I was a wee lad, and in this short snippet of gameplay we can see the players dodge and attacking enemies, whilst also it seems there's going to be co-op with characters such as Kane, Sarah and Julius Thunderhead all being playable, which is awesome, and again, just blasts nostalgia at me. This brand new Golden Axe game kind of looks like Beast Rider in terms of the, I guess, like art style and graphics, but with the more classic look and designs of the original Golden Axe games. We also see Julius Thunderhead riding a chicken leg, which was a mount from the original games. This new Golden Axe game kind of looks really cool in my opinion. It looks like it's going to be a co-op hack and slash game where killing enemies gives XP, drops, power-ups, and with enemies having counters and blocks visible by flashing colours and alerts above each enemy's head. So I reckon like all the colours mean different things. So say for example, if they're flashing red, it means they're about to attack you and you better dodge or counter it or maybe block it with a shield. Again, this new Golden Axe being a hack and slash game and in 3D and sort of a semi-realistic sort of Blizzard inspired like I guess art style, it looks really cool here and I can't wait to see it. Next up is Shinobi, another classic series that hasn't had a game in absolutely forever. This one definitely stood out to me in the trailer as it seems to be a classic game inspired from obviously the classic Shinobi games, that's a newly game that's hand-drawn and animated, similar to games such as Hades in terms of art style. I'm also getting sort of Dead Cell vibes, I'm not sure why. And obviously there's one main difference. This new Shinobi game looks like it seems to be set in sort of like a time travelling aspect, as we get to see sort of like, I guess like rural, like ancient Japan, with also a dystopian future setting as well with cyberpunk elements. So putting a twist on the Shinobi series like that, in my opinion, is really cool. We also see Joe Masashi, who by the way is the main sort of character, because I know a lot of people just call it the Shinobi, or him the Shinobi rather, but we actually see him in a really cool shot here riding through a field, riding a sort of rideable mount that's actually called Yamoto from Shinobi Shadow Dancer, which again I have not played since I was very young, and it's really cool to see all of these elements coming back for all of these like Sega IPs. We also see an enemy potentially walking in the background with another shot showing some of the performing sort of wall jumping and grappling onto hooks and lanterns, with the gameplay ending with Joe fighting a really cool looking boss. And again, Shinobi, I think with Jet Set Radio, Crazy Taxi, Shinobi, Streets of Rage, all of the games that have been shown off here, I think they all look really cute, like cool, purely for the fact that they're all distinctable. They're not all in like a similar art style, they're not all in like a unified, art style, that they're all separate art styles, all separate elements. And I think if Sega can really recapture a lot of what made the Dreamcast cool, then I think they've got a winning formula on their hands here. Lastly, we have Streets of Rage. Now, this is probably the least we can talk about, because Streets of Rage has already been remade previously with the 4th entry. It was rebooted with Streets of Rage 4, which, by the way, if you haven't played, is a fantastic entry in the series. But in this new game, we see Axel Stone fighting enemies in front of a DJ dance floor setting with maybe a boss in the background, with then switching to an alleyway setting with, again, Axel tackling an enemy to the ground with a form of grab and grapple technique. And lastly, we then see Axel again pulling off what looks like to be a special move, so I think all of the Streets of Rage, the classic elements, are returning. I've got no idea if this is going to be a sort of reboot of the original, or if this is going to be a Streets of Rage 5, because 4 took place in the future and had you playing as sort of each of the characters' sons and daughters and brand new characters, so again we'll have to wait and see. Well, that's all we know so far. It seems Sega wants a full reboot, and unfortunately these titles have been leaked out for a while now, and it's been the worst kept secret in all of gaming, or one of them at least. But the most curious thing here is when they list all of the games at the end, like Jet Set Radio, Streets of Rage, etc., at the end it says "and more," meaning that we're gonna get more classic Sega IPs returning in the future. So other ones I would like to see are a brand new Virtua Fighter, which I know Sega have actually talked about in an interview, because it seems as though with the Game Awards ending and this trailer coming out, a lot of people, I actually saw Virtua Fighter trending at one point, so it seems a lot of people want a Virtua Fighter 6, either that or like a remake of the original, which both would be really cool in my opinion. And I think there's definitely demand with it, with games like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat currently doing really well, so again we're going to have to wait and see. In terms of other classic Sega IPs, obviously we've already had, active entries with Samba de Amigos, Sonic, Alex Kidd, Super Monkey Ball, so I think all of those, they can carry on doing those, but at the same time, I'd also like to see brand new entries for Chu Chu Rocket, House of the Dead, Billy Hatcher, Space Channel 5, Skies of Arcadia. A Skies of Arcadia remake would be absolutely amazing in my opinion. And finally, I'd also like to see a brand new Afterburner game. I think an Afterburner game with sort of modern day graphics would work really well. Chu Chu Rocket could be like a smaller budget title, which is, you know, like just a small puzzle game. Billy Hatcher, I'm not really too sure. I'd imagine just because of the sort of niche style of Billy Hatcher in terms of being a 3D platformer, I think they would have to fully reboot the franchise and make it quite a bit more modern. As for Space Channel 5, I know they did a VR game that sold really badly if I remember right, but I would love to see a Space Channel 5 game in a similar vein to the new Samba de Amigo, being a sort of rhythm party game. I think that'd be amazing. So anyway guys, what did you think of the news that Sega are rebooting classic IPs? I think it's something that they've needed to do for years, because I think out of all of the companies that currently exist in gaming, in my opinion, the only sort of gaming, I know obviously Xbox and PlayStation and PC have all got brilliant IPs, amazing IPs, they've got a whole library full of them, but I think one of the only studios that can actually match Nintendo in terms of IP potential is Sega, because again, I could spend probably hours listing all of the IPs and what they could do with them. So with Sega sort of reaching back into that back catalogue now, I think they've got a really good shot at making a comeback. And who knows, maybe we'll see a brand new Sega home console in the far future. But again, that's rather wishful thinking at this point, isn't it? Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching, and for more gaming and Sega content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.